You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
The opinions of the individuals during this broadcast are their own and may not be the opinions of their group or other organizations they may be involved with. All medical advice during our broadcast is not a medical opinion and should be checked with your medical physician.
Oh yeah, baby, that's lovely.
Good morning and welcome to Psychedelics and Cannabis Educational News. It's February the 13th, 2023, and you're live with News Hawks, Rev Kelly and myself, Al Graham, and we're at the 420.com news desk here on PeaceRadio.net and CBGTV.com. Good morning, Rev Kelly. How are we today?
Good morning, Al. I'm well. How are you?
Not too bad. I was enjoying yesterday's nice, warm, and sunny weather.
Yeah, it's sunny today. It's sunny.
Yeah.
It's still sunny. Yeah,
Still
we still
sunny.
have it. It's
Yeah.
a nice. And you know what I'm noticing is that the days are getting longer.
Oh, yes.
Yeah?
Yes, for sure. There's no
Spring
doubt
is
about that.
coming.
That's right. It's coming. It's getting there. It's getting there.
I like
All
it.
right. Two things before we get into the news. Keene.
Oh, yes, February 26th. February 26th, everyone come to Keene, Ontario, number 12 First Street. We're having a cannabis party, like a whole party.
All right.
Vendors,
Just a party.
Mr. Squishy's coming. You're coming with Mr. Squishy again?
Correct. Yes, we'll be there. Squishing some rosin. Make sure when you bring your rosin that it's not dry like dust. If you can put it in your fingers and squish it,
Yeah.
and it just becomes all crumbly, then sorry, it's too dry.
Not going to work.
Make sure she's got
It's
a
not
little
gonna
bit
work.
of humidity in there,
Right.
so you can pack it, make a little ball out of it.
Yeah.
Then you're good.
So
That's
we're
right.
going to do that again.
Quickly.
It's going to be so fun. Come
Yeah,
one,
that's
come
right.
all. It's a free
Yes.
event. There's no cover. We do a little 50-50 draw to, cover our expenses, but it's a free event for everything, for everyone.
Yeah. Free to
Yeah.
come in. It's great, easy to find,
Yeah.
not hard whatsoever.
Yes.
Main highway going near on Highway 7. So
Yeah. We'll do another nug swap. It's really a cannabis community event, and anyone can join.
That's right. Exactly. Anything you want to mention about Can Expo coming up on?
Goodness, we're still looking for
What?
chefs, cooks, bakers, mixologists for So You Think You Can Cook with Cannabis. So if that's somebody, if you're listening and you're one of those people that infuses things and you've got a specialized dish, we're looking for contestants, and they can win $1,000 in prizes if you're chosen by the judges. Right.
Nice. It's good. You win something. That's always good.
Yeah.
Exactly. Okay, and one other thing, don't forget, the Pace Radio Network has nominated in the Best Cannabis-related podcast category. And to remind everybody about that, we got this short 15-second clip. All right.
I like that.
There you go. All the information's there. Canexpo.ca. Click on the media button, and that's, I believe, is where you find the influencer awards. All right, what do you say? Get into the news?
It's time.
All right, first story up comes to us from MJ Biz Daily. Cannabis producer Canopy cutting 800 jobs and closing their flagship Canadian facility.
That's right. They announced on Thursday they're closing their flagship cultivation facility in Smith Falls, Ontario, and they're cutting more than 1/3 of its workforce as part of a shift to an asset-light model in Canada.
Sounds like they're almost shrinking down to the micro size.
Yeah.
Canopy disclosed the new strategy at its report, as it reported a net loss of $267 million for its the fiscal third quarter, bringing the struggling company's red ink in the first 3 quarters of the year to $2.6 billion. That's with a B, Kelly.
Oh my
Billion.
gosh. The money is bad, but this is the worst thing. People that had their hearts set on this, their jobs, their careers, they were so excited. They were,
Oh, yeah.
they probably told their family, and they said that they're cutting approximately 35%, including 800 positions. 800 people that were so
Yeah.
excited to work for Canopy.
Yeah, roughly about 300 positions were terminated effective immediately. The layoffs come as the cannabis companies across North America have been shedding hundreds of jobs and closing facilities because of the failing business plans, failing wholesale prices or falling wholesale prices, and recession worries.
Wow. Last month, U.S. multi-state operator Curaleaf Holdings said it would shutter the majority of its operations in 3 western U.S. states, California, Colorado, and Oregon, to reduce its payroll by 10% in the latest sign-off of the ongoing difficulties for the cannabis market as a whole.
Yeah, the Canopy's reduction, that's 60% of the company's operational footprint, according to the spokesman. And they say we consolidate cultivation in Kelowna and Kincardine, our purpose-built for cannabis facilities.
Yep.
So,
Canopy's plan to close its facility at 1 Hershey Drive in Smith Falls raises the question of where its executive officers would be located. The Canopy spokesperson told MJ Bizdaily that we'll start be in 1 Hershey Drive while we wind down the facility over the next approximate 6 months. So that remains our headquarters.
so for now, the headquarters will remain in Smith Falls until obviously they walk away from the building.
Right.
The management says, which they expects the cost reduction incentives to save the company $140 million to $160 million over the next year. They say it's a commitment to achieve positive adjustments. Yeah, okay, you're right. But look how much money they're losing. Canopy must reach profitability, achieve our ambition of long-term North America cannabis market leadership. Well, I don't know.
Saying they're transforming our Canadian business to an asset-light model and significantly reducing the overall size of our organization.
Yeah, they say the changes are difficult but necessary to drive the business to profitability. Canopy has been closing facilities across Canada for years after overbuilding production capacity, part of a years-long building spree that largely fueled by stock market exuberation.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow,
So
Al. What the
yeah,
heck is going on here? Another big one going down. That's what we talked
it's
about Curaleaf last week. We talked about
yeah.
the Grateful Dead brand leaving. Like, just these big ones are just closing their doors. This isn't, I'm not surprised, but it's so sad to hear. Smith Falls,
No.
that was a big thing for
Yeah,
us here in the area
it
to
was
have.
big news when it went to this. Yeah, because it's such a small town, and then have that big plant there that was operating, and
Yeah.
I had
People
all
moved
these
to Smith
glorious.
Falls.
And
They relocated
oh
there to
yeah,
live in Smith Falls to work at Canopy their whole lives. Are you frozen?
yeah.
Am I frozen?
Oh, I know. People up. I was. Yeah, I was. I'm just in a bad spot of the country, you know. All right, on to our next story, and on it, come on. The headline reads: Legal cannabis industry launches major class action lawsuit against the big Canadian banks.
What? Several major Canadian banks, they announced their class action lawsuit alleging financial discrimination. Ooh, spicy.
Yep, the lawsuit was launched on February the 7th, on behalf of Gabriel Belanger, founder of Boise-based cannabis microprocessing company Origami Extraction Inc. Entities targeted include the Dijon's Federation, National Bank, Royal Bank, Bank of Canada, TD Bank, and CIBC.
The plaintiff alleges that the banks have discriminated against actors in the legal cannabis business by suddenly closing current bank accounts, denying opening accounts, and denying access to financial tools and services such as mortgage loans and credit lines.
Oh, they have. They have. I know businesses that were refused banking. Even the large LPs had problems.
Yep,
Yep.
completely.
Included in this class action are all individuals or corporations that directly or indirectly do business with the major defendant banks and who are involved in the legal cannabis industry since October the 17th, 2018, according to the press release.
Let's get some action happening. For far too long, Canadian banks have treated the cannabis industry like pariahs, as if it was still completely illegal, said Group
Mhm.
SGF lawyer Maxime Guerin in a statement. By doing so, they are depriving the Canadian, but especially the local economy, of developing a promising market.
Yep. The group's website states that the class action targets all individuals and businesses that directly or indirectly are involved in the legal cannabis industry. This includes licensed producers, distributors of fertilizers, or distributors of cultivation equipment that experienced any difficulties with the Canadian banks concerned.
Anyone fitting the description will automatically become part of the target group if they qualify and they need not register. What? That's a
Oh, yeah.
huge lawsuit.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Changes are
Well,
going to be made
even
from that.
yeah, even um, the the Interact machines
Yeah.
at the stores.
Yeah.
There's been issues there. Stores having issues not being able to get the Interact machines and having to go with another company, a
Yep.
Square or something, because the people behind Interact wouldn't allow it.
Right. Yep.
Just not right.
Lots of
It's a
stories
legal
like that.
business.
Anyone with cannabis in their name, you no way could you
Yeah.
get a bank account up until just recently, and it's been legal for 4.5 years. Yay! This is a
Yeah,
great lawsuit.
exactly. It's ridiculous. Okay, on to our next story. This is another ridiculous thing, which is an ongoing story, and that is because Mississauga, they are set to reconsider its ban on cannabis stores.
Ooh, I like that. Yeah, they're set to
Yeah,
reopen the debate
yeah,
over cannabis stores, and this time at least one city councillor says that she is willing to reconsider her past opposition to legal cannabis.
yeah, because Mississauga is one of 66 communities which has opted out of allowing sales. But during the meeting last month, Ward 7 Councillor Deepika Damalura asked staff to prepare a new report taking a closer look at the issue, suggesting that now might be the time to revisit a prohibition which has been in effect since cannabis was legalized in 2018.
Demaria has previously voted against cannabis stores in Mississauga twice, most recently in June of 2021.
What is prompting me is the fact that I have an illegal cannabis store that has been operating in my ward since 2019. For years, I've not been able to shut it down. 6 times the police put chains on the store, and 6 times it's reopened. So it is a surreal situation where I cannot stop an illegal cannabis store from operating, but I am stopping a legal cannabis store from operating. That makes no sense.
That's
It
an interesting
doesn't.
take on it. It doesn't. It
It's
doesn't.
He's right.
Right.
No, they're right.
Now, under provincial legislation, municipalities who have opted out of legal cannabis stores can opt in at any time, but once they do, there will be no opportunity to revisit that decision.
Yeah, the council was initially objected to opting in amid concerns about provincial rules which don't provide municipalities with any say regarding store locations. She said at the time that she assumed the provincial government would eventually consider giving municipalities some authority, especially in response to concerns over the clustering of stores.
Right. And the province, however, hasn't budged on their decisions.
Nope.
Its regulations do require a minimum distance of 150 meters between cannabis retail stores and schools, but don't give municipalities any input on the locations of the stores. Oh, I didn't know that. It's in the case of the LCBO. They do in the LCBO,
Yeah, and the LCBO is run by the government.
of course.
Yeah. There are also no caps for the number of licenses that can be granted in a particular community. Yeah, that's right. Do they limit the the government's deciding on how many liquor stores they're going to put into a location in the town?
Yeah.
So, yeah, because the province has shown some inflexibility and being forced to choose, she says, it's either legal stores with no control where they go or illegal stores with no control where they go. So if I am in a situation where I'm going to have cannabis stores with no control over where they go, I would rather they be legal.
That's a good point. That's a good point. Only about 1,500 cannabis stores operating in Ontario right now. Only 400 in Toronto, they say, and they're actually all dotted right around Mississauga. They have on the borders
Yes.
of like so. Come on.
Exactly. Now, Trevor McPherson is the president and chief executive officer of the Mississauga Board of Trade, which has been calling on Mississauga City Council to revisit its 2018 decision. He says the cannabis is one of the most highly regulated retail industries you can get, and prohibiting legal stores, Mississauga risks sending the wrong message to the wider business community.
There we go.
There you go. So hopefully they make a change in that,
Like Marmara did.
Like Marmara did, yeah, exactly. He opted out. You know what? The sky hasn't fallen since then. Nope. And there's actually a local business there that is just a local delivery business, just like a grassroots type thing. And he's now promoting the fact that he will deliver medicinal cannabis to people in town.
Wonderful. Wonderful. See, everything works together. I like it.
Yeah. Well, that's what I said to him. I said, well, it's good to see that you're offering that service to people, to be able to have access to cannabis. So, all right, you ready for the next story?
Oh, I like this one.
This one comes to us from the Growth Up, and it's pretty local, really, for the two of us. As it's coming to us, where did it go? It just disappeared. It was there. There we go. Yeah, and his request for weed and alcohol and donations for homeless encampment.
It's wonderful. His name is Alex Burke, and he's a first-term counselor who has experience with addiction and homelessness. He made the request on social media. I think this may be a famous or two famous persons' brother, as we read on, if I can remember correctly. Let's read on.
I think so. I'm gonna say he's in a music band. I recognize the last name.
Goodness!
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, Alex Burke is the first-time counselor who has experience with addiction and homelessness, and he made the request on social media, like you said. He says, we need to meet the needs of individuals living outside and not impose our own perceptions. He wrote on Instagram before requesting items that also included tarps, firewood, and survival gear.
Wow. Now, the items listed were based on conversations Burke says that he had with those living outside as temperatures approached -30 over the weekend. He says, alcohol gave me the illusion of warmth on a day like today, and I couldn't function when I was in withdrawal.
On his Instagram account, Burke thanked those who had donated, while also noting that a few individuals were very uncomfortable by the mention of weed and alcohol.
Saying homelessness is not a moral failing. People who are unhoused are not people that just don't know how to work hard, he wrote, adding, we will not enforce our way out of the situation.
We need a multitude of support, starting by a caring and empathetic approach to meet people's basic needs and take care of each other.
Another counselor, Dave Hack, took issue with the request for the Peterborough Examiner. He said that he'd be asking the city solicitor whether it's legal for a city councillor to request citizens' donations of weed and alcohol. Wow.
Yeah, he says that personally, I do. Do I think it's something he should be doing as a counselor? No, but I'm not the final authority on it. Another city councillor, Matt Crawley, told the Peterborough Examiner that on the surface, it does appear to be a counter to initiative to request these specific items for our homeless community.
Adding, however, as someone who has never had an addiction issue or suffered through homelessness, he would defer to Councillor Burke's judgment as what is best when it comes to harm reduction and care for relating to our homeless community.
Now, he has faced some blowback on social media, but he stands by his request. He says, are people so misguided that they think all of us in harm reduction are getting in the way for some magic scenario of recovery like you see in the movies? Encampment residents just need some tough love to shape up and find their way into abundance of support available? No.
And then it just talks about a 2020 study published finding that cannabis to be a reverse drug. It doesn't, however, know
exactly
who he is in the. So he's the little brother of Zach Burke, the hockey player, but Sebastian Bach, he's from Skid Row. He's his little brother.
Well, it could, I saw the name and I think, well, maybe they're connected. Yeah.
The whole family. I think the sister was an artist, and they're a very, very wealthy Peterborough family. So it just goes to show you that anyone can have difficulties with homelessness and addiction, and how wonderful it is that he's a counselor and speaking out about it. Bravo to him.
That and help, exactly. Trying to help people. You know, we have people in the East Coast and West Coast, and Chris, that are helping people, the homeless people and stuff through cannabis, and people with addictions using cannabis. This is almost like bringing it from the street and bringing it into the council room in order to get it done at the community level. So,
I'm gonna find them and help.
All right, ready for the last story before we go to break? Headliner says, why are people turning to psychedelics like ayahuasca?
Yes.
Why are they?
Ayahuasca is a psychedelic tea whose roots go back hundreds of years to ceremonial use by indigenous groups in the Amazon region.
Yeah, it's widely used in South America, where it is legal in several countries, including Peru and Brazil, but not in the U.S., where it remains illegal because the brew contains psychedelic DMT.
Despite the illegal status, ayahuasca has been increasingly popular in the US, and interest has intensified as celebrities like NFL quarterback Aaron Rodgers and Hollywood star Will Smith talked about attending ceremonies. Supporters have formed churches to hold their ceremonies, which are largely held underground in homes, at rented facilities, or in remote locations like deserts.
Those who drink ayahuasca report seeing shapes and colors and going on dreamlike journeys that can last several hours. Some say they can encounter dead relatives as well as friends and an assortment of spirits who talk to them.
Surveys of tea drinkers have reported that most experience a range of physical and mental effects after drinking ayahuasca. The most common physical reaction, according to the study in PLOS Global Health, was vomiting or nausea, while other lesser side effects include abdominal pain and headaches. A majority of participants also reported seeing and hearing things, feeling alone, or having nightmares, though almost all those report mental effects felt were beneficial to their growth. According to the study, 2.3% of those surveyed reported needing medical attention after taking ayahuasca.
Now, why do people take it? They say a growing number of people in the U.S. are turning to ayahuasca to address a range of mental ailments they say conventional medicine has failed to remedy. Many turn to the ceremonies to help with eating disorders, depression, substance use disorders, and post-traumatic stress. One study using data from the Global Ayahuasca Project reported that most people with depression felt it had very much improved or completely resolved, while most of those with anxiety reported that their symptoms were very much improved or completely resolved.
Medical experts caution that not enough research has been done in the United States to confirm these findings, though smaller studies have been done in Brazil and other countries.
They aren't really the same kinds of studies that have been done above ground in the U.S. that allow us to know how well does it work really how well does it really work, who does it really, or who does it, what really the best for, what are the real side effects of it, according to Anthony Black, a professor of medicine at the University of Washington. Yeah, he's leading a study using psilocybin to help doctors and nurses with symptoms of depression and burnout linked to their work during the pandemic. So he's helping doctors using this stuff.
Wow, that's very important. I imagine, Our knowledge of ayahuasca is kind of limited, he said. There is not much information about safety as the regular other medical treatments that you might get if you went to a regular doctor in the United States. It's kind of in the early stages, I would say. Interesting, intriguing, promising.
Yeah. So where's the movement headed? Some supporters worry the popularity of ayahuasca could prompt a federal government crackdown. Some advocates have reported shipments from South America being seized and churches closing for fear of legal trouble. Others worry reports of sexual assaults at ceremonies, sickening participants, or organizers ripping off people who could prompt the federal government to act.
Oh, wow. That's terrible. Yes, some groups have formed, or is that the one you said?
Nope.
Yes. Some groups have formed churches in the hopes of being protected from prosecution by a 2006 U.S. Supreme Court ruling. Citing the Religious Freedom Restoration Act, a New Mexico church won the right to use ayahuasca as a sacrament. A subsequent lower court decision ruled Oregon branches of a different ayahuasca church could use it.
Well, the U.S. DEA, which declined to comment for this story, set up a system in 2009 for churches to be recognized as having an exemption to the Controlled Substances Act. Wow, there you go. But Sean McAllister, who represents an Arizona church, in a lawsuit against the federal government after its ayahuasca from Peru was seized at the port of Los Angeles, said no churches have been approved. Most people in the movement, he said, view that option as a complete waste of time.
Oh, no. The government wants to keep a lid on this thing. They want to keep it as small as they can, said McAllister, adding that the DEA would be skeptical of people claiming ayahuasca connects them to God. Oh.
Yeah. Well, they wonder about decriminalization. And they say here, according to Brian Canalupa, he's the lead facilitator of the California-based Hummingbird Church. He says that part of what we're trying to do is get the word out and change the laws in the United States. So this is 100% legal, and you never have to worry about it. Gee, it almost sounds like what we had to do with cannabis.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds like they're making steps and, organizing church and talking about, Aboriginal uses of it. So hopefully it'll be okay.
Yeah, exactly. In time. All right. It's time to hear from our sponsors, though. And for us, we're going to take a bit of a break. You're watching Psychedelics and Cannabis Educational News here on the Pace Radio Network and CBGTV.com.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
Cannabis edibles are an effective way to manage pain and other ailments, especially when you deal with your trusted partner, Legacy 420, in Tyendinaga Mohawk territory. You see, we lab test every product on site to ensure proper dosage every time, which is critical when consuming cannabis edibles. All Legacy 420 edibles are made by our classically trained baker and chocolatier, and we also have super tasty vegan options.
Our baker has been in the industry for 25 years. She's also a chocolatier. Everything from savory to sweet, your chocolate bars, brownies, butter tarts, you name it, we make it.
Talk to our knowledgeable Cannatex about our incredible variety available. Give your trusted partners a call. Legacy 420 out on your road.
In February of 2022, the Victoria Cannabis Buyers Club and Ted Smith were fined $6.5 million. This for helping 8,500 patients with access to medical cannabis. In our interview with Ted, he spoke to us about how people can donate to help in an upcoming court challenge. And here is part of that interview. From what I've seen lately, I believe that you've got something that you're trying to do as far as fundraising to deal with this next court challenge.
For now, people can write checks directly to Jack Lloyd Law Corporation or send e-transfers to save the VCBC at gmail.com. I guess those are the two easiest ways for people to help right now.
PACE Radio is the People Advocating Cannabis Education Radio Network.
Are you watching television on Roku, Fire, maybe an Apple TV or even Chromecast? If you are, then download the Boxcast app and search for CBG TV.
CBG TV broadcasting to a worldwide audience. Find us at cbgtv.com. You're watching the Cannabis Broadcasting Group here at cbgtv.com.
Enjoy the buzz of legalization with Campbellford Lifestyle Shop. From lights to plant nutrients, books, consumption accessories, and more, we've got all your basics to grow or consume cannabis. Visit our info center or take a look at our piercing services and body jewelry, now available in-store through Campbellford Lifestyle Shop, 17 Bridge Street West, Campbellford.
We are people advocating cannabis education here at paceradio.net.
Welcome back to Psychedelics and Cannabis Educational News as we get started on the second half of our program. Now, one thing I didn't mention when we started the show, which is a bit of an update for our promos that we're going to have to do down the road here, and that is the fact that, as we mentioned in that promo, you would have heard that CBG TV, you could catch our stuff by going to the Boxcast app and then finding the CBG TV app inside there. Well, not anymore. You can now just go to your Roku and download the CBG TV app, just like you download any Netflix or any other app that's out there. So you can catch our stuff there as well.
That's huge. That's a big deal.
Yeah. It is. We're still working on it. We're going to end up, putting categories in or whatever. But right now it's there. It's basic. But when our show is over, it will appear there in our app. So
excited. I'm going to go check it out.
Yes. Yeah, I know I was. So, all right. Well, shall we get started into our next story, our first story of the second half, I should say.
Yeah, what's going on?
And this one is, we talked about this before the show, and it just didn't make sense to you and me. And we've said this in the past, and that is because according to Global, they said the red light on green, and that is Amsterdam, to ban cannabis smoking in the red light district.
Yeah, they're trying to crack down on tourists. The ban comes as part of a string of new legislation that aims to make life in the city more bearable for permanent residents who have long complained about the rowdiness of tourists in the area.
Yeah, Amsterdam City Council announced the cannabis ban on Thursday. The city's statement said that Amsterdam's busiest neighborhoods, including De Wallen, also known as Red Light District, have become unlivable because of cannabis consumers.
But isn't this literally their enterprise? Like, probably their number one source of income in Amsterdam is tourism,
Yeah.
right? Residents of the old town suffer a lot from mass tourism and alcohol and drug abuse on the streets throughout the municipality of Amsterdam, especially at night. The atmosphere can get grim. People who are under the influence linger for a long time. Residents cannot sleep well, and the neighborhood becomes unsafe and unlivable.
Smoking joints on the narrow, often tightly packed streets of Amsterdam's inner city will be outlawed in mid-May. City officials wrote that if the nuisance persists, they may ban smoking on terraces of coffee shops.
Okay.
Well, don't want that, do they?
Nope.
Nope.
In addition to the soon to be smoking ban, the city's also discouraging the sale of alcohol. Stores in the inner city will be banned from selling alcohol after 4 p.m. Thursday to Sunday, drinking in public will be forbidden.
But you can still drink there for part of the day, but you can't smoke your cannabis, but you can still drink there.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, in mid-May, bars, restaurants, and cafes will close at 2 a.m. rather than the currently mandated 3 a.m. on the weekday and 4 a.m. on weekend times. Well, maybe it's the cannabis smokers. Come on. Holy Jesus Christ.
Now, the sex work establishments will also see their hours changed as a result of the new legislation and will now be required to close up shop at 3 a.m. rather than 6 a.m.
So the smokers are coming out and causing this problem, but yet people are at the bars until 4 o'clock in the morning and they're worried about the smokers. Jesus. Oh, it's just Amsterdam residents have the opportunity to debate the new legislation via an online forum. They say throughout the years, the city has attempted to quell the impact of mass tourism on locals in the neighborhoods. The We Live Here campaign, which aims to make tourists aware that the red light district is a residential area, even erected posters and billboards to remind tourists not to be overly rowdy in the streets. So why don't they ban the red light district?
Right.
And the alcohol?
Right.
But
okay, if you're you know where you're going to move to if you're moving there. It's famous all over the world. I've never been there, but I know what happens in the red light district.
Yeah.
So if you're going to live there, maybe you don't want to raise your children there. Like, you're making a choice to move into this that's been there for a very long time. You know what it's coming with.
Yeah. This is just a ban on new tourist shop, a ban on holiday rentals in 3 neighborhoods in the city, a new restrictive policy to minimize the number of new hotels. Like, I guess they've just been over touristicized. I don't know.
I like it because it will stop people from traveling there. They can come here to Canada for our tourism instead. Come to Canada.
Come to Canada instead. Yeah, exactly. Wow. I just didn't know that cannabis consumers would be people. I could see people out in bars to 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning being some problems, but people who are smoking cannabis are causing those major issues. Wow.
No, not at all the prostitutes or the drinkers. It's those weed smokers.
That's right. Exactly. All right, on to our next story from CBC's News. Kitchener, Ontario cannabis retailer launches campaign over what he calls illegal kickbacks.
The owners of some independent cannabis shops in Ontario are questioning how bigger chains can afford to offer deep discounts, and a new campaign alleges it's because some may be accepting illegal kickbacks.
Owen Allerton is the owner and CEO of Highland Cannabis in Kitchener, and he started the Cancel the Kickback campaign in late of 2022. The campaign says the Ontario government changed the rules to permit cannabis shops to sell their sales data to producers. Now, Allerton alleges some of the larger chains are selling their sales data for way more than it's worth and using the money to fund predatory pricing.
All retailers in the province have to buy their product from a government wholesaler, but some larger chains offer discounts of around 25% for members or people who sign up for their loyalty programs.
This sort of came to our attention as we questioned how are the possibly remaining feasible and selling at those low prices. So we started to hear from the industry's insiders that what was happening is these payments, these listing fees, inducements, whatever you want to call them, basically they're deals that say we carry our products and push them on the customers that come through our door and we will pay you X dollars.
Oh boy. The Alcohol and Gaming Commission of Ontario prohibits licensed cannabis retailers from accepting or requesting inducements or payments to promote certain products over others from licensed producers. But as of June 30th, 2022, the AGCO has allowed cannabis retailers to sell their sales data for business intelligence purposes.
Oh. The data is generalized sales figures and not customer data. The AGCO notes on its website that the sale of sharing of personal customer information continues to be prohibited by Canadian law unless expressly consented to it.
Right, and it shows a example here of one of the advertisements.
Oh, okay,
Now,
that's what that is. Yeah.
yeah. Now, the AGCO said in an email to CBC Kitchener-Waterloo that it works to ensure compliance with regulations that include rules about inducement. We are currently conducting inspections into allegations of inappropriate cannabis inducements and will determine if it gives rise to any regulatory concerns regulating to licensed retailers in Ontario, the statement said.
Yeah, well, Alton says he's received the same message from the ACO, but says he's been flagging the issue for the commission for months, and he's seen no change.
Okay. Well, he's not alone. Jenaway Kavian, owner of Calyx Trichomes Cannabis, I remember this one, in Kingston. Yep. She told the trade publication StratCan that she's been approached by producers who want to make a deal for shelf space.
Yeah, she says we often get offers from third-party reps or data groups looking to kick us back 5 to 50%. They will say something like, if you buy this case, I'll give you $1 per unit back. But those offers usually come on products that are pure trash that need to be moved, or worse, products that are pure trash with artificially inflated price to account for these kickbacks, according to Genoa.
Wow. I'm so glad these retailers are speaking up.
And she's the chairperson of Normal Canada.
Good.
As well.
Cavion said her staff won't accept these deals because then staff would need to push certain products and recommendations that are not coming from the heart, and we will lose credibility.
Alison says these kinds of deals are hurting small cannabis retailers. Says that if you talk to any of these stores that are closing their doors and giving up, they'll all tell you the same thing. It's the pricing they can't keep up with.
Wow. She's expecting that the deals will dry up in a few years, saying now more licensed producers are willing to say, my cannabis is quality and it will sell itself. When these deals evaporate, the retailers participating in these deals will go bankrupt because their whole business model is taking handouts.
Oh, that's not good. Independents need to tighten their belts and ride it out. Aldrin says the Cancel Kickbacks campaign is meant to educate and unite independent retailers. There you go.
Yep.
Well, they say that they're not breaking the law, but it sounds like they're stretching the rules.
Yep, that gray area, right?
Yeah, exactly. All right. This next story is coming to us from CTV News with a question that asks, Canada's cannabis industry is struggling amid high excise taxes and competition from the illicit market. That's not a question, but that's what they say according to the experts.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
On Thursday, as we mentioned, Canopy Growth Corp, one of Canada's largest cannabis producers, announced it'll be laying off 800 workers, impacting 35% of its workforce and closing its facilities in Smith Falls.
Yep. Now, in the backdrop of all this, experts say high excise taxes and stiff competition from unlicensed sellers have made it difficult for legal growers to do business. And George Smitherman, president of Cannabis Council of Canada, says he wants to see Ottawa level the playing field for legal growers while ramping up enforcement action against the illicit market.
George says if you're willing to be regulated and put up your hand, fill out all the forms, and pay all of the fees, everybody's got time, attention, and more fees and taxes for you. And just on the other side of the line, if you care not to do any of that, almost nobody cares.
For example, legal sellers have to adhere to strict THC limits when it comes to edibles, but Smitherman says they're too stringent, which allows the illicit market to dominate the category. And he's right; it's too low. You know, should have options for people. Go ahead.
It's unclear exactly how much of the cannabis market share is taken up by illicit sellers nationwide. But according to the last year's annual report from the OCS, illicit cannabis made up 43% of the market in the province. In addition, Health Canada's 2022 Canadian Cannabis Survey found that 33% of cannabis users still buy from illicit sources, at least occasionally.
Yeah, well, on the earnings call on Thursday's Canopy Growth CEO David Klein also placed the blame on the company's struggles on the illegal market. Well, what about product, people? He says the competition with the illicit market, compounded by the overbuilt legal cannabis industry, has caused price compression across the board. We expect the sector changes to remain for years to come, and as a result, the sustainability of this legal sector is in question. That's what he told the investors.
Well, here's another one. Smitherman's also taken aim at the federal government's excise tax on cannabis. In 2017, prior to legalization, Ottawa had signaled that the taxes would be $1 a gram for a $10 a gram cannabis product.
Wow. Mm-hmm. You can see this proportion of this whole excise tax in its way out of whack. Our preference would be to go back to 10% excise on products across the board.
Now, cannabis industry expert in Toronto Metropolitan University lecturer Brad Polis agrees, saying this is not the time to be taxing cannabis into oblivion. Get greedy later. Don't do it now, he told CTV News in a phone interview on Thursday. Let's let the legal industry thrive before you start to tax it into oblivion.
Well, while Polis also wants to see reforms to ease the tax burden for legal growers and make it easier for them to compete against the illicit market, he believes cannabis growth struggles are largely due to them expanding their production facilities too quickly. Oh yeah, there's more to this. It's probably it's everything combined. What they're complaining about and what people on our side, like on the customer end of things, what they're complaining about.
Right.
It's everything. Yeah.
Right. Well, I mean, it goes on to talk about how they're doing a review of the Cannabis Act. Smitherman hopes that the review is going to give the industry more exposure around the issues and notes that it would take years before any reforms come out of it, given the slow pace of Parliament, of course.
And he's right, and he would know, right? He was in those chairs. He sat in those chairs. It was one of his jobs at one time, working there. So yeah, they do move slowly. So
Wow.
Speed things up, eh? All right, talking about speeding things up. There we go. Next story. Headline says, where weed is legal, hotels roll out new marijuana amenities. Oh, I got that word out right.
As cannabis moves further into the mainstream, a handful of hospitality players are keeping current by way of weed-friendly partnerships and amenities.
In the lobby of the recently opened Ace Hotel Toronto, for example, guests will find a phone that connects guests with a bud tender at one of the cannabis retail brand superettes nearby outposts.
So smart. Yeah, a partnership between the hotel and Superette. Guests can place a pickup order from a menu of items especially curated for the ACE. They include a one high AF, a super flower sunny rose twin pre-roll pack that, according to Superette, pairs perfectly with a friend and a long walk on Cherry Beach Park on Lake Ontario. I like that.
Since October, a limited edition collection of co-brand accessories, including rolling papers and trays and a lighter, have been for sale at Ace. So they're cut so that their guests can roll up that cannabis that they just ordered. Similarly, Hawkston, downtown LA, has linked with the dispensary Green Queen, located just across the street to offer guests more streamlined cannabis access.
Under the partnership, the pair have launched the Green Queen times the Horton Turndown service, enabling plant-loving guests ages 21 and older to get in-room delivery of a customized box of cannabis products daily between 10 a.m. and 10 p.m. Guests can select from either a night in box, which features products with a more relaxing effect, or a night out box for a more energizing evening. That's so smart.
Yeah, you get some sativas to go out on the night that you can't get to sleep when you get back. And the boxes come with information, so people have to know what's going on. The turn down service can be booked ahead of time as part of the package and added an extra $40 to your bill.
That's so great. Now, in Las Vegas, cannabis inclusive hospitality specialist Elevations Hotel and Resorts is being big on that overlap, recently unveiling Lexi, a 64-room cannabis-friendly hotel a few minutes from the Strip. The property, a revamp of the former Artisan Hotel boutique, plans to offer a full floor of rooms in which smoking pot will be permitted. Tobacco, of course, will remain prohibited.
Yeah, these rooms will feature enhanced air filtration systems, while materials known for absorbing smoke, such as carpeting and heavy drapes, are being nixed. Out you go.
Smart.
Yeah.
Lexi's not the first foray into the cannabis-friendly hospitality space. The group also counts Phoenix's pot-friendly Caledon Hotel among its holdings. Wow, so they're there too in Phoenix.
Yeah. They say that in addition to plans for cannabis-related programming and shuttle service to local dispensaries, they say that Lexi will offer plenty of amenities with more general appealing, including upscale Cajun-inspired steakhouse restaurant, helmed by Hell's Kitchen alumni Jordan Savell, a bar and a lounge and a pool that will host to pool parties and other events. Won't even be able to smoke around those pools.
So cool how it's happening. They say that we're cannabis inclusive, but not cannabis centric. We want all people, whether they want to partake or not, to feel welcome and really destigmatize the use of cannabis.
Good. Exactly. Good stuff. Yeah, why not a cannabis friendly hotel or place where people can go?
You're floating in the pool. How great would that be to be, smoking a doobie?
Yeah.
We need that.
Adult only pool. Yeah. There's no reason we can't have an adult only pool. Actually, I think at Kind Summer Fair, I think there was people floating around smoking doobies in the pool.
On a duck.
All right. A duck. That's right. All right, our last of the day headline there. Just come on. There we go. These states could legalize cannabis next in 2023. All right, more to go.
The march towards legalization continues. In 2023, we expect a handful of states to pass legalization or send measures to voters to legalize adult use cannabis or medical.
Yep. First up, Delaware. Last year, Delaware lawmakers passed a pair of bills to legalize cannabis possession and establish the for an adult use industry. This year, lawmakers are taking another crack at it, and they've already introduced a new pair of bills to legalize cannabis. And the main difference from last year's efforts is the legalization bill doesn't permit gifting. Oh, so you can't give it away to your buddies for free as a present.
Okay, well, let's see what's happening in Hawaii with support from the state's new pro-reform governor, Josh Green. Ooh, I like his name. Hawaii lawmakers are optimistic that they could pass adult use legalization this year. In January, they made a clear intention to file the legalization bill. That would be so cool if it was their Governor Green was the one that got it legal in Hawaii.
Exactly. Maryland, their residents voted in favor of legalization in November by a 2-1 margin, but legal possession won't go in effect until July the 1st. In the meantime, Maryland considers the person possession of up to 1.5 ounces of cannabis subject solely to a civil fine of up to $100.
Okay. Minnesota legalization looks promising in Minnesota this year. In late January, Governor Tim Walz released his proposed biennial budget. It includes allocations to implement an adult use cannabis program and to implement expungements as well.
Nice. Ohio. This January, Ohio State's Secretary of State Frank LaRose introduced a bill to legalize adult use cannabis and implement a 10% tax on retail sales. Rose initially proposed the act last year, but was forced to delay putting it in front of the voters.
Oklahoma, even though activists gathered enough signatures to put adult use to voters on the last year 2022 midterm election ballot via measure known as state question, they'll vote. The vote to legalize adult use cannabis during a special election March 7th. The poll released late last year showed 49% of adults support the measure, 38 oppose it, and 13 were undecided.
You need those 13, some of those 13% to come over to our side. Pennsylvania, many of Pennsylvania's regional neighbors, Maryland, New Jersey, New York, Virginia, have all legalized adult use, but the Keystone State has been slow to join them. The state GOP lawmakers have blocked legalization bills, but in November 22, election state Democrats wrestled back some seats. Then on February 7th, Democrats won 3 special elections, and that tiny majority may be enough for the Keystone State to finally pass a legalization bill through the House.
Ooh. South Carolina, 2 medical cannabis bills have been pre-filed in South Carolina. One bill permits residents to use medical cannabis and allows for dispensaries to open. The other bill lays the groundwork for a more comprehensive medical cannabis program.
And in Wisconsin, in recent weeks, the leaders there in the dominant Republican Party have signaled that they have nearly reached consensus on medical cannabis legislation, and the lawmakers emphasize that they would only support a restrictive program. They say that I support a form of medical cannabis, but it's very restricted, so it's only going to folks who have a true medical condition.
This is good news.
So that one sounds like it's going to be really say suffer with something, but it's not.
It's a little progress. A little bit.
Yeah, exactly. Little progress. Then, the next steps will come after that. So, all right, Rev Kelly, anything you say before we say goodbye?
I hope you have a wonderful week. We're getting close to spring.
Yeah, it's coming. It's coming. But usually January and February, even December, are history-wise a really cold, frosty, crappy months. But I know we got a high this week that's projected to be in the double digits.
Oh, I like that.
It's just crazy.
Spring.
So, yeah, well, it might be a little early, I think. I don't know. I'm not saying it's around the corner yet. All right. Other than that, Keene, February the 26th, stop by Cannabis Temple. We'll be there doing some pressing, and there'll be other people there as well. Other than that, I remind you about the vote, which I didn't put the ticker tape up today, but that's fine. We'll get it next time. Other than that, here's that reminder. We'll talk to you all on the other side next week. And don't forget, Cindy and Glenn, they're up on Thursday. Other than that, talk to you later. Bye-bye.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
The opinions of the individuals during this broadcast are their own, and may not be the opinions of their group or other organizations they may be involved with. All medical advice during our broadcast is not a medical opinion and should be checked with your medical physician.
When you have a pain that's reached its peak, Legacy for 20, it's so unique. If organic cannabis is what you seek, here's your trusted partner 7 days a week. Suppository salves, vapes and drops, topicals, edibles, infused pop. Just when life seems like it ain't easy, at Legacy 420, enjoy a pop freezy. Lab tested products, make them the GOAT. Legacy 420 out on your road. Legacy 420 in Tyndonega Mohawk territory. Indigenous organic cannabis at its finest.
What do you find at paceradio.net? People advocating cannabis education.
Enjoy the buzz of legalization with Campbellford Lifestyle Shop. From lights to plant nutrients, books, consumption accessories, and more, we've got all your basics to grow or consume cannabis. Visit our info center or take a look at our piercing services and body jewelry, now available in-store through Campbellford Lifestyle Shop, 17 Bridge Street West, Campbellford.
We are people advocating cannabis education here at paceradio.net.